Dog. Every time I press that shit to turn the camera off, just because I might not want to use it that time and turn my sound off. You get me? Hey, girl. You get me? Yeah. All right. Boom. So, EJ's supposed to testify next week. As you can see, this says that an expert says that Tory Lanez's DNA wasn't found on the gun magazine and the DNA on the gun was inconclusive, but a woman's DNA was found on the weapon. You can see that EJ King liked that post. Now, is that an end-all be-all? No. But I think that it says a lot that that shit just got posted and his ass just liked it. Now, somebody had said, well, you know how Kelesy went up there and did, so that really don't mean nothing. Yeah, that's cool. He could get up there and say all kind of shit, but he wasn't present for no shooting. So it ain't gonna be the nail in nobody fucking coffin if EJ get up there and say, no, Megan was acting like a perfect little angel. She was completely sober and didn't get into it with anybody. Even if there was a situation, what the fuck that's gonna hurt? You know what I'm saying? So, you know, he could do his thing. When it comes to this, Gossip of the City had posted and said that nothing was the same after this live. Megan got upset that Tory was on Kylie Jenner in the pool. EJ liked this post as well. This shit just got posted recently too, like last week. So, that's interesting. But any fucking way, when I left you the last time, we left on a cliffhanger. The question asked was a sample taken from Kelesy to test her DNA up against the weapon? The answer was no. They said, was there ever any request to get Kelsey's DNA so that their DNA could be tested up against the weapon? They said no. Somebody said you should do YouTube videos like Impressive. Babe, I've been on YouTube for years. But thank you for the suggestion. And I'll never do it like Impressive. And that's not shade to her. She does her things how she does her shit how she does it. But I do my shit how I do it. So that's who I would be doing it like my damn self. But I think that that's very, 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 hey, baby. I think that that's very important that nobody even attempted to get the DNA from Kelesy. I think that it's very important that every police officer that we have put on that stand and asked, did you do this the way that you're supposed to? But what about this? What about that? I think it's very interesting that, you know, corners were cut. You know, I don't know if you want to call it sabotage or, you know, I don't know what the fuck you want to do. But at this stage of development, it ain't no goddamn coincidence that, I mean, y'all didn't seem like y'all wanted to pursue anything as it pertains to Kelesy. I mean, what's up? That's what I'm trying to see. So that shit ain't making no sense to me if you trying to investigate a case. Anyway, moving along. So this is where we catch up, all right? They said we want to see you, baby, not right now. So we come back in at 3:40, and the defense called up what's this man damn name? Something Scott Taylor. Bitch, what is his name? I'll go get his name for sure, but his name is Mr. Taylor, right? So he was a forensic scientist, and so he said that he was asked to look over the evidence from the case. So they said, based on the DNA analysis, what can you tell us about the analysis that they did? So let me tell you what happened. The defense went and got their own specialist, right? And so they put him on the stand. I wish that y'all could see this shit. I'm not playing. Is there anybody listening? You're very telling. It's giving botched investigation. Have y'all ever watched Ancient Aliens? Where are my people that fuck with Ancient Aliens? If you ain't never seen Ancient Aliens, you can go to Google and you can type up probably Ancient Aliens hair. It's a nigga on Ancient Aliens. His hair just stick up. That nigga just put the shit straight up in the air. This fucking man, that he like a ancient astronaut theorist or whatever the fuck, a physicist and shit, whatever the fuck he's supposed to be. And so this man that got on the stand that was a specialist, baby, he is one of the people that has a large hand in the way that, you know, DNA is processed for cases. You know what I'm saying? Like in America. So he did some big shit. Like that nigga hold weight in his field. You can tell by the way that he describes certain things that he loves his work, you know? But we don't love it. You know, I mean, it's cool that you so well versed in shit. But the way that he was describing everything, bitch, we didn't know what the hell that man was talking about. And I think that they just wanted him to lay the foundation and show how deep he was in that shit. You know what I'm saying? To let everybody know, like, nah, nigga, this ain't no place. I'm an expert. I ain't to be played with. But what I will say is, child, thank you, Mark Scott Taylor. Thank you, Mr. Dennis. So, yeah, I'm gonna save it. So, you know, everybody to me was sitting up. You ever been in a damn class and the teacher was teaching and you was like, what the fuck are they talking about? That's how I felt. And I know when I looked around, bitch, everybody was looking like, nigga, what? But he wasn't, you know, he looked like a sweet man, and you could tell he loved DNA, bitch. He loved all of that shit. So he was just in it. He was just talking. He was just, and child, bitch, I started thinking about dick. But I was still taking notes, though. So anyway, the question asked was, you know, what was you supposed to be doing? You know, you the guy, hot. What's up with you? And he was like, you know, me and my people in my company were asked to look over the evidence from the case. They said, based on the DNA analysis, what can you tell us about the DNA analysis? They said, I can tell you that they did DNA on the gun and the magazine. They said, can you explain to us what the LAPD concluded from the handgun? He said, they said that DNA from 4, you know, people was a contributing factor to this weapon. And that one was a male. So he said, so at least one was a male. And so at least one male was there or present. The DNA was present on that weapon. He said yes. And then he said, but there also was female DNA on the gun. So we have a second expert that says that there was a female's DNA on the gun. If you want to get into DNA and X and Y and Y and Y and A, B, C, E, D, F, G, bitch, all of that shit, then go ahead. But they did what they needed to do to confirm that it was a woman's DNA on that weapon. A female, rather. They said when they tested it against Tory, he said, you know, we just couldn't say that he was there. Can't say that. They said, what's the significance of that? And what was the significance of, you know, doing these tests? And they said, would it have been significant to test other people? He said, yeah, it would have been significant to test other witnesses so that they could see, basically, you know, what was up with the goddamn case. This is an investigation, right? So, yeah, it would have been significant to test other people. They said, what about the magazine? He said when they tested the magazine, at least 4 people's DNA was on it. But Tory's DNA absolutely was not on that shit at all, okay? So, bitch, it's very unlikely that Tory ever loaded up this gun, put the magazine in there, and all of that shit. All right, so then he said that there were at least 2 males that contributed DNA to that weapon, but none of them was Tory. He said, but it could have been 2 other women on it, okay? They said, what's the significance of Tory's DNA on the magazine? He said, you know, Tory was excluded. What was the significance of those results? You know, that he was not on it. That I cannot say that he had. I can for 100% fact say ain't no DNA of his on that magazine. And I need y'all to put something into perspective. Y'all got to get into how fast shit was happening. Ain't nobody had time. The gun was still in the slide lock position. Ain't nobody had time to take the magazine out, wipe the magazine down, all that kind of shit like that. And even if they did, if a nigga just fired 5 shots, you know what I'm saying, which was ass, if somebody fired 5 shots, wouldn't you expect their DNA to be on it? Yes. Okay. All of that shit ain't went down, and that boy done touched that gun and did all that with that gun, but his shit is not on there. I see y'all on the internet talking about, oh, they wiped it down. Y'all hoes is pathetic, but it's all right, though. Anyway, so, what was it? So, they said, was there any evidence that Tory touched the gun? The gun itself, not the magazine. He said, that was inconclusive. But there was no evidence that he touched it. They said, would you have expected the owner of that gun to have DNA on it? And he said, yeah. And he said, if you felt like Tory was the owner of that gun, do you think that he would have DNA on it? He said, yes. If you got somebody that's continuously handling a gun, loading up a gun, carrying this gun is in a possession for an extended period of time, then yes, we would expect that his DNA would be on that weapon. They said, so it's most likely not his gun. They said, I can't say that it's not his gun, but I can say that it's very unlikely that it's his gun. Recall that the DNA on the outside of the weapon was inconclusive. So Tory cannot be included or excluded from that. It is inconclusive. Magazine, he's 100% excluded. But I think that it's quite fucking funny that there were 4 people in the fucking car and 4 goddamn contributors. But I want to be very clear that could mean 8 different people. No one said that the 4 DNA matches, or the DNA that came off the gun, the 4 contributors rather, nobody said that those 4 are the same people or are DNA matches for the 4 contributors for the magazine or the gun. So you understand what I'm saying? It's late. I don't know if I mixed that up. So you have 4 contributors for the magazine, 4 contributors for the gun. Nobody said that those were the same 4. It could have been 8 different people. There you go, straight like that. So they said if he shot 5 times, shot that gun 5 times, should his DNA be on it? He said, yeah. They said, did they test anybody else? He said, no. And they should have tested everybody. Okay? That's what they supposed to do, huh? They said, was it any samples from Kelesy? He say no. They said, would gunshot residue be on your hands if you fired the gun? He said, yeah. They said, can they have DNA on their hands if they haven't fired the weapon? He said, yeah. The puff that even emits, from the gun when it's fired. He said the puff of smoke can get on somebody. He said, okay, if somebody fires a gun and I hold their hand because I'm trying to stop them, will gunshot residue be on me? He said, yeah. They said, would you expect that DNA and the swab for the DNA and that the gunshot residue test, would you expect that would be taken at the same time? He said, yeah. So then, let's go ahead and get into the cross-examination. The prosecution is a joke. I just want to say that before we got started. Mr. Alexander Bott, you a handsome man. You sitting up there looking like a little Ken doll. You're supposed to be appealing to the ladies, I guess. You got, your energy is more pleasant, I would say, more welcoming, seem like, than Kathy's ass. So I see why they keep throwing your ass up there. But baby, you fumble. When I say he acted a damn fool, I'm not lying. And when I say that Armenian man got up there and gave that nigga the treatment, bitch, I'm not lying. It got real intense. Bitch, the judge had to tell the attorney, don't talk over me. Baby, it got hot in the motherfucking kitchen. So what happened? It was time for the prosecution to go ahead and have a conversation with this man, the expert that the defense had hired. Now, mind you, the prosecution has not rested. What happened was, due to scheduling, they had to go ahead and bring the man in, you know what I'm saying, sooner rather than later. Okay? Cool. So, we got cross-examination. The man say, did you prepare a report for this? The man said, no, I did a summary. He said, when you do the summary? He said, December 15th. He said, oh, you just did this like 2 days ago. He said, yeah. He said, wouldn't you say that this is a complex situation that takes a lot of, looking into and all that kind of shit? He said, yeah. And then they was asking him, like, why wasn't there the proper type of communication had between him and the prosecution so that they could be aware, of what was going on in the findings? He said, when you called me, I couldn't speak to you. He said, I didn't even know that I was going to be testifying until now. So basically the man was saying, typically I would make a report, but I didn't know if I was going to come in to testify. So I made a summary of my findings. And when you call me trying to get information, baby, my motherfucking, my loyalty is to my client. So I can't talk to you unless the person that hired me tells me that I can. So that's why they didn't talk. The prosecution was trying to make it seem like, oh, you threw this together right quick type shit, basically. And so, bitch, all of a sudden, we minding our motherfucking business trying to see who shot you. And this damn prosecution gonna say, how much they paid you to testify? Bitch, you could hear an audible gasped when the man said $250 an hour. Bitch, the courtroom said, and you just thought everybody that was taking notes, get their little pen, get their little pencil, and then hurry up and start writing some shit. I said, huh? Oh, this way you going with this bullshit? I said, all right, cool. So everybody eating this shit up, right? They say, how much have you been paid in total? You know, while you've been affiliated, basically, with the defense and you've been working on this. He say $6,250. Okay? Call Jim Adler, the Texas Hammer. I got a woman $150,000 from an 18-wheeler accident. I got hit by an 18-wheeler and I couldn't walk for 8 years. But Jim Adler, the Texas Hammer, came through and got me a settlement check. Bitch, he said I got paid $6,250. They said, what's your yearly income from your lab work? He said, child, I don't know. They said, how much of your income comes from you know, getting basically work from defense attorneys? He says, shit, about 90%. They say, you know, that's significant, huh? That's a significant portion of your income for your company. He said, yeah, good money. They said, is your lab accredited? The damn prosecution say, is your lab accredited? The man said, no. The prosecution was so hyped up. It was so funny to me. He say, have you ever been audited? He say, I audit myself. No. He say, did you ever go to seminars to drum up business? He say, no. Child, the damn prosecution say, you testified down the hall that getting business at the seminars was a part of the strategy, didn't you? He say, he say, yeah, but I got invited. He said, I got invited to do that seminar. They said, how much money you make from this? He said, man, I don't know. He said, man, what's your gross income? He said, pre-COVID, you know, we might have made over $1 million, but shit. He said, I'm trying to think about our last tax return. He said probably about $700,000. But he said, you got to understand. He said, I ain't even taking home a salary. He said, I ain't even taking home a salary in the last year. He said, ever since COVID came and fucked up everything, he say, when you have to pay, a lot of money go into DNA testing. He say, so it ain't no, you pay me and I get to basically just walk home with this money. Like, this money got to go into testing these samples and seeing what's up and running all of this shit. And so he was like, you know, I ain't even taking home a salary right now. You know, I ain't taking home a salary in a while. And so, he say the money that I brought in ain't even been enough to keep the lab going. So the man said, how much you say you getting paid an hour? He say $250. And then he say, when do the clock start? He say, do it start when you start your car up? And he say, if I'm driving now. He say, is the clock running while you're eating? The man say, I ain't go to lunch. Now all of a sudden, everybody going back and forth. They arguing out. You got the defense saying, man, what's up? You got prosecution throwing these questions out. Man, you got the man on the stand trying to defend how much money he made. He trying to remember. I got the hiccups. The judge stepped in. I said, bitch, this some ghetto ass shit. So they said, do you agree with the other expert that Tory can't be excluded? He said, yeah, Tory could have touched it. Okay. They said it was 4 contributors, right? He said, yeah, but I ain't got no idea who contributed. He said, you don't know whose gun it was, right? And then he said, that's correct. So he said, all right, I'm done. So the defense got back up there. And bitch, this was a sight to motherfucking see. The defense got up there and said, have you ever worked? And he talking like this. He's talking like this. Have you ever worked for me before? He said, no. He said, has the court paid you to be an expert for their cases? He say, yes. He say, ain't you on the court-appointed list for experts? He say, yeah. He said, in a court of law, don't the prosecutors have access to LAPD criminal lists? And don't we as defense attorneys have to seek out people like you for our own, you know what I'm saying, testing and shit? He said, yes. That's why you got to be a good lawyer. That damn prosecutor tried to make it seem like it was, and I ain't mad at him because he doing his job. You do your shit, nigga. You got to try to pull something out the hat when you're losing. When for the prosecution to try to manipulate everybody into thinking that this was some type of sideways ass, underbelly ass situation done in a back alley, it wasn't. They tried to play with that man's credentials. They tried to act like it was so crazy that he would be getting paid to come sit up there and testify on anybody's behalf. This is a key on the court-appointed list. Do you understand? And if you were to go look up what that man has done, and if you were to go look up his contributions to science in that regard, you would understand he ain't nothing to be played with, bitch, accredited or not. And he said, baby, you do not have to be accredited. He said he not seeking no accreditation, and he don't care. He said he don't give a fuck if he go to ICDC college. That's what he said. That ain't what he said. So anyway, whew. So the man said, so the defense has to hire people like you. He said, yeah. He said, when you get on the stand in them instances, don't you get paid by the courts? He say, shit, hopefully. Everybody start laughing, child. We need some type of comedic relief in this bitch. So, the defense say, didn't I tell you I may not use you? He said, yeah. They said, didn't you come and do a summary? And you had to do that because of your schedule. He said, yeah. He said, didn't you ask for more information? He said, yeah. He said, I got a DNA report from the LAPD. He said, and didn't you want all of the info? He says, yes. He said, didn't you go over at least 100 pages of information about this? He said, yes, me and another person went over it. And it was a quick turnaround. But he said, he was basically saying that his opinion still stands because he still did his due diligence. Typically, if the circumstances were changed and his schedule wasn't a conflict, and if he would have known that he was going to come to testify, he would have written a report. He didn't have the time to do that. The prosecution felt like, well, you didn't include that a woman could have been a contributor in this summary. So why are you saying it now type shit? And was trying to basically say you get the bulk of your money from defending people. So why wouldn't you basically, he was implying like, why wouldn't you get up here and say this type shit? And you trying to drum up business. So you going to get up here and speak to some shit. But, oh yeah, we got something for that. So, the defense attorney said, was your opinion consistent with the LAPD? He said, yeah. He said, are you here lying for the defense? He said, no. They said, didn't Bot call you? That's the prosecutor, one of the prosecutor's names, the DDA. He said, yeah, and I told him I can't talk because of who, I'm working for. They said, didn't you have the same opinion as the LAPD about the DNA and the weapon in the magazine? He said, yeah. He said, would you say that DNA would be on the gun per the incident? That Tory's DNA would be on it? Per what happened, would it be likely that his DNA would be on a gun? He said, yeah. They said, was Tory's DNA on the gun? He said, no, child. And that was it on that. And they said, okay, we're going to get into Justin, the bodyguard, and his body attachment, and the doctor. Now, all of a motherfucking me sudden, they want to pull up another damn doctor. Can the prosecution please rest their tired-ass case? Please. Please. I'm so sick of watching Kathy Todd walk to that motherfucking door and come back with a human. I don't know what to do. I wish she would sit her ass down. We don't want to hear no more of this bullshit. This case ain't really about if she got shot. This case is about, bitch, who shot her ass. That's the question. That is the question of the day. So, they did say that Mr. Kelly, the witness that saw everything, baby, will be in the courtroom. And let me tell you something. If y'all could see where that man balcony was in relation to where they would have been per where those shell casings were found, baby, it's like, I put it to you like this. If you had a garage and somebody was standing outside in front of your garage arguing in your driveway, and your balcony was right on top of your garage, that's how close that nigga was to them. I bet they ain't even fucking know it. So when that man telling you what he saw, that nigga was up close and personal with that shit. He wasn't up on no 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th floor. No, bitch, his balcony was low as fuck. Bitch, I thought, that this was some shit out of Italy. Y'all know how in Italy they got them houses and then you got the like them balconies be low in some places? Bitch, I say, damn, where we at? I didn't even know that shit was in America the way that shit was looking. That balcony was low than a motherfucker. So yeah, when we say he saw it, bitch, saw it. So that is all that had happened in terms of Friday. I didn't get to finish telling you, and I just wanted to be thorough to wrap it on up. So y'all can go back and look at the last video I did, which brings you up to this point. And then I went ahead and told you what happened. I told you it wasn't a lot left, but due to timing and my own obligations, bitch, I had to go. What were my obligations? DeLeon, okay? My obligations were alcohol consumption and marijuana use, okay? So I had very important things that I had to do with my life. And so, we had to go ahead and take a break. But there you go. I think that people got arrogant. I think that people got too big for their britches. I think that people thought this was a slam dunk and they ain't have to, do their due diligence. I don't think that many people thought that this would actually go to trial. Ain't no way in hell you didn't had almost 3 years to get this shit together, and this is the bullshit that you present to us. Now sit your dumb ass down. You got an F on your test. Niggas is failing. So, hey, chat niggas. So at the end of the day, I just feel like, bitch, this was one of the biggest fumbles since they let OJ beat his hand up against the wall and slide that glove on and act like it ain't fit. Bitch, this has been one of the biggest motherfucking circuses I have ever seen in my life. Y'all really had an opportunity to get into some shit. And you ain't got in nothing. If it was pussy, they wouldn't have felt the dick. This shit is ridiculous. This shit is actually ridiculous. And, I just think the whole world needs to know about it. And that's what I think. What you think? They said that ain't what he said. That ain't what who said. What he said? What you telling me? Will Tory take the stand? And will they charge Kelesy? Well, one question at a time. I don't have any inside information on any one thing. And I want to make that very clear. There have been a lot of assumptions made because of the type of support that I give. And, you can assume whatever the fuck you want to. You can speculate all you want to. Okay? But no, I don't have any inside information. I would not be able to tell you something like that. I have no fucking idea. Will they charge Kelesy? I don't know. I haven't been to sleep, baby. So I ain't just wake up. I'm going to go to bed after this shit. I cannot say that they will charge Kelesy. The same way that I don't know about what's on the minds of the defense is the same way that I don't know what's on the minds of the prosecution. But what I will say is that I wouldn't be surprised if they tried to come up with some perjury charges against them. I wouldn't be surprised. I'm finna add up Mr. Dennis Byron and see how he feeling.
Oh, what's hey? How you doing? Oh, I'm sorry.
Hey, Mr. Dennis.
I'm in the theater right now. I'm sorry. Hey. Am I upside
Hey.
down? Let me turn myself right side up. Hey,
Okay.
what's going on?
Hey. Nothing. I was just wrapping up, things from my perspective as it pertains to Friday and the proceedings. How did you feel about Friday
I
leaving the
felt
courtroom?
that the defense's expert witness was more seasoned. He provided a more
Yes.
thorough analytical approach looking at DNA, and I saw that the
Yes.
audience as well as the jurors were more honed in on what he had to say because he gave a
Absolutely.
opening of his background like a college professor who live, sleep, and eat this
Yes. And
DNA.
breathe DNA. You could tell that he absolutely loves, what he was talking about, and you can tell that he loves what he
Very
does.
much
He was
so.
giddy.
It was two humorous points in the in his opening, as far as what he was talking about the 1/10 of a tenth of a tenth.
Oh, yes, when
Right.
we just all
I
didn't
was
know what
confident. I
the
said,
hell
"Dude,
was
you off
going
about a
on.
couple zeros."
Okay.
But
No.
he got it back together. I did believe that and this is my, you and I cover things from our lens, what I see. So people have to understand that
Yes.
what you may see may be different than I, and what I may see may be different than yours. So it's no, and that's why people can't really
Absolutely.
say, well, she said this or he said this. Doesn't really matter. You see it the way you see it. I see it the way I see it. So with that said, I saw the 80-minute tape to be a problem for the defense. And I made
Okay.
some points early on about that. I spoke what I saw, and I think that Kelesy should have been held as a witness until the conclusion of the tape being played. So the
Me too. Even though I was sick of the whole melee, she should have, because they played it and it was just like, okay, on
right,
to
and
the
that is
next
not the
thing. No
same thing with
questions to be asked.
Megan Thee Stallion. I don't think they should use her either because a lot of cases I
Absolutely.
cover, they key star witnesses are not allowed to leave right away because they may want to be brought back on rebuttal, and you got to give the defense. The defense is the one
Right.
on that needs to be able to prove his or her case, and
And I wanted to say really quickly, even in Kelsey's testimony, there was still some contradiction. So it would have been good to, pull her back up and then to compare that to what Megan said and ask her, some questions as
right,
well. So yeah, I
right,
agree
and
wholeheartedly.
same difference with Megan. Both just like they held
Mm-hmm.
the prosecution's DNA expert for recall. They should have held the defense's witness for recall as well as the prosecution witness for recall. Especially these are critical witnesses.
Yeah.
These are not, oh, I got a plane to catch, I got a concert to do. No. You got to keep your ass here until we finish. We finish with you, right? We
Okay.
got to keep
This
you
is your
here.
case.
So
Shit.
I don't know how that will impact the jurors, and is this something more they wish to have heard? Because we don't know if they, even though they don't having the transcript in front of them, they may have
Uh-huh.
something that they heard the prior day that may be in contradiction to what is on that transcript, and vice versa. So I think that this case will definitely not be uh, returned right away. I think when they get in the room and start discussing everything in its totality, it may be one juror that holds out, maybe two. All you need is one,
Okay.
right? All you need is
All you
one.
need is one.
And I'm gonna say this: the worst case scenario is they feel sorry for the victim and they give him the lesser charge.
Yes. And to me, that would just be ridiculous with this
Right,
DNA
right.
evidence. What do you think about the DNA evidence? What do you think about the LAPD not even
Well,
requesting to
they
get
messed
Kelsey's
up.
DNA?
That's I have someone right now that is on my, it's in my comments, not my comment, but in my DM. There's a police officer. She said the LAPD screwed up in that fashion. They did not do a thorough investigation. They didn't properly exclude anyone, those who could have possibly held the gun.
Who could have?
You
Yeah,
know, yeah.
yeah. And now
And
we will never know if
say,
Kelsey's DNA was on that weapon.
I'll
But there
say
was a
this: as
female
the owner of
contributor.
firearms, I don't let people touch my guns.
I know
So,
that's right. Okay,
right,
because who's gonna come back on? A murder
right.
happened
Don't let
with your
people hold your guns,
shit.
touch your magazine. You know, even when I'm on a range, well, sometimes I let them shoot with it, but for the most part, I clean your weapons. You know, and I think it's a reach to think that they had the time to clean the gun before the cops right on their ass. You know, they could have pulled up, and so if they saw that gun in someone's hand, someone was getting shot. So, and I don't think that was in their mind. Being drunk, you think, oh, I got to clean the gun. You know.
Exactly. And once again, these things are happening very, very, very fast. And now go back to the opening statements from the defense where they introduced the
Right.
idea of a botched investigation. And it's looking more and more like a botched investigation, from the paper placards, which are not placards, to the faux blood trail
you don't know
that
what
we
direction it
cannot
went
confirm.
in. It was probably, you don't know where the spatter started or where it ended. And usually in murder cases,
that's a problem.
you know that they create a really great pattern recreation. It didn't happen in this case. And I think that what the defense is going to do is going to capitalize off of what they didn't do, which ultimately is going to raise reasonable doubt.
Yes.
But don't get mad at me, ladies and gentlemen, because they've been doing the most on social media.
You know why? Because people have convinced themselves of something, and we are just in the courtroom seeing what's happening, and people's feelings. There are people that walk in the morning and we take a break and they say, Tory's guilty. And we come back after lunch and they say, man, no, that girl out of line for what she did. It changed like the seasons.
Absolutely. And I did have an issue with something that Kelesy said in the interview with the prosecutor. I thought it was real odd that how Megan really just, this friend of 13 years, she just went cold turkey on, just try to distance stuff. Like, what kind of friend does that?
And what
had
was
been
the
something
reason?
Stronger than some guys.
It had to. And then, she speaks on people who worked for, or who Megan worked for, trying to get her a ticket out of town within the next 2 hours. This girl has just been in this traumatic situation. She doesn't even know if her friend is okay, her best friend and her employer. And she's sitting outside of a hospital being told that, girl, you got to fly 2 hours to catch.
Right.
Why? Okay,
what was the
happened?
urgency of her fleeing? And what jeopardy was she in? After her...
They want to get her out of town. And why did they tell Kelesy a lie? Kelesy claims that Desiree Perez told her it's a glass injury. She finna be down for a year.
Well,
why would you tell her that?
Desiree
if it's true.
Has been in some controversial situations herself in the past. So,
amen.
We ain't gonna go there right now, Desiree.
Okay. But yeah, that was interesting to me. If it's true, that was interesting.
I gotta send you those photos. We got some cool photos out of this.
Yeah, and I gotta take still shots of the ones that we took. I've been doing this and passing out, so I ain't been able to post myself. Maybe repost something that somebody posted. But yeah, I have some cute ones too.
Well,
next week we back at it.
Oh, I want to say this, and I didn't say this earlier. I commend all the YouTubers that have actually came to the courthouse, and this is something I've been preaching for months, that in order for you to be able to do a thorough job in reporting these type of cases, you got to show up. People don't. One thing you don't get from the internet and people post, you don't get the essence or the interpretation of how different plays are responded to. Questions like the emotions that come out of these questions. You don't see that if you're outside the door. And just like you were just explaining how people start taking notes in one area, and then kind of just was just watching in another area, not really doing motionless. You know, I saw that too. I look at the jurors a lot because at the end of the day, you got to convince the jurors. You know, you got to convince the jurors.
Right.
You know, and I would say this: the defense is pretty quick on their feet and catching things. You know, what do you think about the judge?
They are. The
Look,
judge is listening and looking intently. Yeah. He looking like, hold on now. Wait a minute. What happened? Okay. Like he looking like he listening to what's being said about how it was. To me, there was a big shift when the realization came that there wasn't even a request to get that young lady's DNA. I feel like the people just responded like, what?
Well, this you can tell just by the testimony. There was a lot of inexperienced people working this case, from Diaz having only 6 months on the job to her partner only having like 2.5 years on the job. You know, that plays a factor in creating doubt. You know, how experienced, you know, like you said, placards, but they really weren't placards. They were just makeshift folded paper that you put in there. And the reason why you use placards is it shows a sequence of how you approach evidence, which is
right.
You know, did you start from the garage or did you start from the towards the car?
What did you think about the testimony about the area and the direction of which the casings could go in relation to the photo we saw? Because what I concluded was, after the banter, was that, okay, well, most likely the gun was fired in this area. We have 4 shell cases that are basically in this man's driveway, backyard area. Wouldn't they be in the street?
Well, you know, there was, I would say that you saw a part where the Mark Taylor, no, actually it wasn't Mark Taylor, it was the prosecution's witness. I got to look at his name. He had a very interesting name. He said, where they asked him, when the gun is fired, how far would the casing travel? And they tried to pin, and I think it was kind of far-fetched. He said the casing, because I'm on the range. My casing, that was
he said
bullshit.
18 feet.
Guns,
what are you talking about?
Right.
Ain't no damn casing going 18 feet away.
If you've ever been on the range, you know the casings are literally at your foot. Why are they not? Right.
They
not
pop
all over
right
the place.
there.
The casings drop. It may travel maybe a foot, 2 foot, maybe 3 foot. It's not traveling 18 feet. When he was talking about popping over, I'm saying, dude, what kind of gun you got? It's a 9mm, but it's, you know, who? Not many people shoot with revolvers anymore, you know. But I looked at that as well, and I thought maybe he was kind of being led by the prosecution.
Yeah. Do you think that we're going to get into any conversations about, because he did read off a serial number, the last owner of this web? Like, where the hell did this gun come from? Do we have any earthly idea?
No, and I'm gonna tell you why that's not so material. It's kind of, in a way, if it's, say, for example, if someone just got the gun from a male or a female, knowing who owns the gun is important, because now it'll let either side know that, okay, well, this gun was just held by the previous owner a day ago or a year ago. And if it's a year ago, DNA is not staying on that gun unless it's in a plastic bag. So that is something that's interesting. Numbers weren't filed off on the gun. They weren't filed off on the gun. So again, these are the things that people have to look at. And I think the defense has to hone in on the things that the prosecution didn't do. A lot of things, the mistakes that they made. Pretty much.
Right.
You know, that's it. It's early. I'm sitting in. I got to do some movie reviews for my clients. So, I'm out here in the hills. So we gonna.
Okay.
You leaving out when you told me you was leaving out, right? But you're coming back. Okay. All right. I'll shoot you over that stuff shortly.
So Okay, okay. Well, I will see you soon,
Absolutely.
and thank you so much.
Also, where's the beef?
All right. Where's the
On the grill.
beef?
How about that?
On the grill.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you. Thank you. All right.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
All right. Thank you. Thank you. So, people, that is what the hell is going on. And that's it. We signing out, bitch.